It was Caitlin Clark's world in 2024, and she was honoured accordingly Tuesday. Doug Feinberg of the Associated Press noted Clark was named the publication's Female Athlete of the Year, thanks to her impact on and off the court. The Indiana Fever star drew 35 of the 74 votes from a group of sports journalists from the AP. A pair of Olympic gold medalists came in second and third place, with gymnast Simone Biles landing 25 of the votes, and boxer Imane Khelif receiving 4 of the votes. Clark's 2024 journey started in college, where she led the Iowa Hawkeyes to their second straight national championship game, all while breaking the NCAA Division I career scoring record for both men and women with 351 points. Unsurprisingly, she became the #1 overall pick of the 2024 WNBA draft, and wasted no time establishing herself as a success at the next level. She took home the Rookie of the Year, and was an all-star while averaging 19.2 points, 8.4 assists, 5.7 rebounds, and 1.3 steals a game, and shooting 41.7% from the field and 34.4% from deep. Clark also led the Fever to their first playoff appearance since the 2016 campaign, and has them poised for long-term success, even though they lost in the first round to the Connecticut Sun. It wasn't just her excellence on the court that stood out though, as she helped elevate the popularity of women's basketball at both the collegiate and WNBA levels to new heights. As Feinberg noted, WNBA television viewership increased by 300% during her rookie season, which came after the women's NCAA championship game outdrew the men's television ratings. It was the first time in a 42-year history the women's championship game outdrew the men's title game. That excitement went nowhere after she left Iowa, as the 2024 WNBA draft drew a league record 2.4 million viewers. And she then played in 20 of the 23 WNBA games that drew more than 1 million viewers in her rookie campaign. Caitlin Clark has shattered the record for the most career points in NCAA Division I basketball. Across both men's and women's categories, Clark has elevated the popularity of women's basketball to unprecedented heights, both at the collegiate level and in the WNBA. On Tuesday, she was named the Associated Press Female Athlete of the Year for her impact both on and off the court. After leading Iowa to the national finals, Clark was the top pick in the WNBA draft, living up to expectations. She later earned the league's Rookie of the Year honors. Fans sold out arenas and millions tuned in on television to follow her journey. Clark's achievements have had widespread reach, shining a spotlight on other women's sports leagues along the way. A panel of 74 sports journalists from the AP cast their votes for the award. Clark received 35 votes, with Olympic gymnast Simone Biles finishing second with 25 votes, and boxer Imane Khelif placing third with 4. I grew up being a fan of Candace Parker and those who came before me, and being honoured in this way is super special. I'm so grateful, Clark said in a telephone interview. It was a great year for women's basketball and women's sports overall. Shohei Ohtani received the AP Male Athlete of the Year award on Monday. Marking his 3rd time receiving the accolade, Clark concluded her collegiate career with a stunning total of 3,951 points, while guiding Iowa to its 2nd consecutive championship final. After her Hawkeyes fell to South Carolina in the championship game, Gamecocks head coach Dawn Staley took the microphone during her team's celebration and said, "I want to personally thank Caitlin Clark for elevating our sport. Despite all of Clark's success and the attention she has brought to women's basketball, she often finds herself the center of toxic debates and comments on social media aimed at her and other women players. On her part, Clark has brushed off the destructive discourse. Lobo has also been impressed by how Clark, 22, has managed the pressure and attention that has come her way. I would say she has navigated this almost flawlessly. She has not had any major stumbles or errors in a time when she is under constant scrutiny, Lobo said. She seems to say and do all the right things. It's just incredible in a moment when the attention and criticism are constant. She hasn't done anything to tarnish this kind of measured personality that she has. As Clark dealt with the praise and criticism amid the heat of competition, she found it hard to appreciate exactly what she had achieved over the past year. But after taking time to reflect on the whirlwind, she is grateful for those who stood by her during the journey. "I am thankful for the people I did it with," Clark said. "A year ago, I was still in the first half of my senior year in college. How quickly things change. Now I can see how great the college season was. Iowa sold out all its home and away games, with Clark as the main attraction. That momentum carried over into her professional basketball career. Her number 22 jersey was spotted everywhere Clark played during her rookie season and is set to be retired at Iowa. It would be a mistake not to acknowledge how crazy her fan base is and the attention she receives with everything she does," said Tyrese Halliburton, guard for the Hawks, who was often seen in the stands during games of the Fever, the team Clark plays for in Indianapolis. "It's a different kind of popularity. She's one of the most popular athletes in the world, not just in women's sports. It's really cool to see, and she handles it all with so much grace." Clark enjoys spending time with fans at games. She typically takes time before and after each game to sign autographs. "For me, it is still so much fun," she said. "Whether it's 15 seconds, or 10 seconds, or 5 seconds, it can be really impactful in a kid's life. Seeing fans going crazy an hour before tip-off is something I never take for granted. It's super cool and I never want it to go away." After a slow start to her WNBA career, Clark eventually found her rhythm as well. She set the record for assists in a single game with 19. She totaled 337 assists for the season, breaking that mark as well. Known for her long-range shooting, she became the fastest player to reach 100 three-pointers, doing so in just 34 games, helping Indiana reach the playoffs for the first time since 2016. Lobo, who won the AP Female Athlete of the Year award after leading UConn to its first national championship, was on the court for the WNBA's opening 2 years later. The current ESPN analyst views Clark's rise as something different. Clark credits the communities of athletes for the surge in popularity of women's sports. "We did this," or "we did that," was her common response when asked about it. "It's fascinating. You don't always appreciate how many people 18 million is," Clark said. "You see that number up against a college football game, or the Masters or whatever, in terms of the biggest sporting events in our country, and it puts it into perspective. We surpassed the men's Final Four." Caitlin Clark raised the profile of women's basketball to unprecedented levels in both the college ranks and the WNBA, and Tuesday she was named the AP Female Athlete of the Year for her impact on and off the court. After leading Iowa to the national championship game, Clark was the top pick in the WNBA draft as expected and went on to win Rookie of the Year, honors in the league. Fans packed sold-out arenas and millions of television viewers tuned in to follow her journey. Clark's exploits were far-reaching, casting a light on other women's sports leagues along the way. A group of 74 sports journalists from the Associated Press and its members voted on the award. Clark received 35 votes. Olympic gymnast Simone Biles was second with 25, and boxer Emaine Kelliff was third, getting 4 votes. Clark is only the 4th women's basketball player to be honoured as the Female Athlete of the Year since it was first presented in 1931, joining Cheryl Swoops, 1993, Rebecca Lobo, 1995, and Candace Parker, 2008-2021. I grew up a fan of Candace Parker, and the people who came before me, and to be honoured in this way is super special, and I'm thankful, Clark said in a phone interview. It was a great year for women's basketball and women's sports. Shohei Ohtani won the AP Male Athlete of the Year on Monday for the 3rd time. Clark broke the NCAA Division I career, scoring record for both men and women, finishing her career with 341 points while guiding Iowa to its 2nd consecutive national championship game. After her Hawkeyes lost to South Carolina for the title, Gamecocks coach Dawn Staley took the mic during her team's celebration and said, "I want to personally thank Caitlin Clark for lifting up our sport. For all the success Clark has had and the attention she has brought to women's basketball, she is often the centerpiece of debates and online toxicity towards her and other players in the league." Lobo also has been impressed with the way the 22-year-old Clark has handled the pressure and attention that has come her way. "I would say she's navigated it almost flawlessly. She hasn't had any big missteps or misspeaks at a time you're under constant scrutiny," Lobo said. "She seemed to say and do all the right things. That's just incredible at a time when it's constant attention and scrutiny. She has not done anything to tarnish this sort of mild persona she has." As Clark handled the praise and the backlash during the heat of competition, it was hard for her to appreciate just what she was able to accomplish over the past year. But after having time to reflect on the whirlwind tour, she appreciates those who were there alongside her for the ride. "I'm thankful for the people I got to do it with," Clark said. "A year ago, I was still in the early part of my senior year in college. How fast things change, and now I can see how great a college season it was. Iowa sold out all of its games at home and on the road, with Clark as the main attraction. That momentum continued into the pros. Her number 22 jersey was prevalent wherever she played during her rookie season and will be retired at Iowa. You'd be remiss not to acknowledge how crazy her fan base is and the eyes she gets with everything she does," said Indiana Pacers guard Tyrese Halliburton, who was often spotted courtside at Clark's Indiana Fever games. "It's a different type of popularity. She's one of the most popular athletes in the world. It's not just women's sports anymore. It's really cool to see, and she just handles it with such grace." Clark said she enjoys spending time with fans at games, usually taking a few minutes before and after games to sign autographs. "For me, it's still really fun," she said. "Whether it's 15 seconds or 10 seconds or 5 seconds, can be very impactful in a young girl and young boy's life. Seeing the fans going crazy an hour before tip-off, I never take that for granted. That's super cool, and I never want that to go away." After a slow start to her WNBA career, Clark eventually found her stride there too. She set the single-game assist record with 19 and also had 337 assists on the season to break that mark as well. Clark, known for her logo distance three-pointers, was the fastest player to reach 100 threes when she did it in 34 games, which helped Indiana reach the playoffs for the first time since 2016. Lobo, who won the AP Female Athlete of the Year award after lifting UConn to its first national championship, was on the court for launch of the WNBA 2 years later. The ESPN analyst sees Clark's ascension as something different. She's brought unprecedented attention both in the building, but also viewership to the sport that was worthy of it, but didn't have it yet, Lobo said. There's never been anything like this. That time frame from 1995-97 was a baby step in the progression of it all. This is a giant leap forward. I've never seen anything like this. There's more attention than the sport's ever had. The numbers have been record-breaking when Clark is part of a broadcast. The NCAA Women's Championship game outdrew the men on TV for the first time in the sport's 42-year history, with our 18.9 million viewers tuning it to watch the event. It was the second most watched women's sporting event outside of the Olympics in the history of US television. The 2024 WNBA draft was the most watched in league history with 2.4 million viewers. Clark credits the community of women athletes for the popularity increase of women's sports, saying, "We did this," or "We did that," when asked about it. It's fascinating. You don't always appreciate how many people 18 million is, Clark said. You see that number against a college football game, or the Masters, or whatever it is, as far as the biggest sporting events in our country, and it puts it in perspective. We outdrew the men's Final Four,